first of all, what are you doing retiring? Aren't you going to be playing in like the Collinsville Holiday Tournament this year? How can you be retiring? You're too young.
I actually feel like that. I feel pretty young. Unfortunately, everything else on the body felt great, except my ankle. I had some issues there, and I was given some advice that it was time to stop and move on, and that's what I'm going to do because I want to live an active and healthy lifestyle with the family now.
It is going to be hard to believe, though, you're not going to be playing basketball anymore, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. But, at the same time, I look at it like I grew up playing in the backyard with my family. Like that was basketball to me. And that's what I'm going to do with my sons and my daughters if they want to play. So I'm never going to give it up.
What's the biggest culture shock? I know you've been there for so long now, 11 years, but what is the strangest adjustment for you being the pride of Belleville and living in Australia?
Oh, geez, there's a couple things. I think being on the other side of the world, away from your family, is a big culture shock. And then, the time difference. I mean, with practice, with people's schedules, it makes it a little more difficult to talk. But, I love both countries, and I miss the U.S. I'm having a great time here in Australia. So it's where I'm meant to be at the time. So I'm grateful for it.
What do you miss most about not being in Belleville?
Oh, my family. I mean, I think if you ask me any question, I think my family is probably going to be the first response most of the time anyways. But and just seems, familiar faces. That's where I grew up. But like I said, at the same time, I was afforded with a wonderful opportunity here. And I have my wife and my kids here, and it's just been unbelievable.
There are a lot of guys who, when they retire, they think, boy, I wish I would have done something differently. I would have achieved more. But I look at your career where you're a league MVP, you win a championship, you average 20 a game one season, you make the Olympic team. I think you've probably achieved every goal you wanted to, right? I mean, are there any regrets for you?
The way I approached each season was just thinking about how I can get better and frankly, each day. And I didn't necessarily have, the lofty goals of making the Olympics or winning MVPs and that kind of stuff. I just wanted to get better, and I had so much fun doing it. And to this day, I'll keep going, knowing that there was still room for me to get better, but it was time to stop, and I'm going to get better in other areas now.
Oh, when you look back, would you have done anything differently with your game?
I mean, you look back, and I guess I can see how my game kind of morphed into understanding the game better and playing with a little bit more feel, more, I guess, the mental side of the game. And, sometimes if you can get the hang of that even earlier, it's definitely helpful. But, that's part of the journey. It's a part, the trials and errors and working through it. So, I have absolutely no regrets.
Why is competition so important to you, and why do you love it so much?
I love competition because that's how you become a better player. That's how you become a better person. And competition is everything. And people should be thanking the competition, saying, thank you for getting me better and for challenging me. And even times for making me look silly and fail, because, without the competition, if you just play, at the same level your whole career, you're not going to get better. So I'm very thankful, for all the competition out there.
One of the great things your dad did was to kind of keep you out of AAU because he believed you could get more work done at that little grade school gym in Belleville. Tell me what that meant to your growth as a player.
Well, I think my dad selfishly just wanted to get a workout himself too. If I'm playing AAU, he's not playing. So, but to be honest, it did a number of things. First of all, it was family time together, which I cherish to this day, and those are my fondest memories of basketball. And then secondly, it afforded you the opportunity to get touches, to get your skills, and to really work on things instead of just, going from game to game, going through the motions. So, it helped you to actually work on things. And then there's a time and a place to play the games. But I had so much fun in that Blessed Sacrament gym.
What do you think you'll do with your children in terms of that strategy? Less games and more work with you in the backyard?
Oh, I like to think so. At the same time, they're at such a young age. I'm interested to see what they're interested in, to be honest. And as long as they stay active, and of course I'll go out on the court with them. And I already do it with my son. And right now it's about channeling that competitiveness or anger or whatever. And you can see glimpses of yourself at that same age. So we'll see what they're interested in, and I'll get in it with them.
What did you think of the Billikens? Do you keep up with them, and are you thrilled that it looks like Travis Ford's got himself quite a squad?
Oh, definitely. I still keep up with him. I emailed back and forth with Travis, and because I used to play against him when he was coaching at UMass. So they have a real good opportunity, I think, in these next couple of years to do some really special things. The guys he's brought in, the players he has going for him, and the style of play is just a lot of fun. And you can see with the Billiken fans how they're getting into it. It's pretty cool.
And they have a Belleville guy leading the way in Jordan Goodwin. Do you know Jordan? Have you ever played against him? Do you remember him as a little kid?
Oh, I definitely remember the name, and I think Jordan holds the Althoff all-time scoring record. I know he's an exceptional player, but I've been overseas for 12 years, and I've been able to come back little bits and pieces here. But that's one thing I've missed, going to high school games or college games. So hopefully soon I'll get to.
What about your time with Majerus? He had that famous line, "I didn't recruit these players and they didn't recruit me." And it got off to kind of a seemingly a rocky start, but you and Coach became kind of tight before it was all said and done, right?
We really did, and that's how I think Coach Majerus operated. It started rocky. In the midst of it, it was rocky, and at the end of it, it was rocky. And I mean that in a good way, that he just challenged you every single day. And the one thing I'll never forget about Coach Majerus is I was overseas, and he wrote me a handwritten note saying how much he enjoyed coaching me and all that. And I was like, this guy may not have seen it at the time, but he really cared for me. And that was pretty special.
So what about the next step? I mean, you just retired this week, so I'm sure you don't know definitively what you're going to do, but what kinds of things do you have in the back of your mind that you'd like to do?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And that's one that I'm just going to figure out trial by error. So for this next year, I'll be working with the Sydney Kings, the team I was playing with, in a basketball role, front office, kind of I guess a jack of all trades, master of none right now. But hopefully it helps me to get a feel about what I want to do, because I know I have a lot more to give with basketball. And at the same time, I have a decent, background in business and a good St. Louis U education. So I'll have to put that to use.
And your bride is from Australia, correct?
Yes, Rachel's from Sydney here. So, but Rachel played basketball at Oral Roberts in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So she knows all about the Midwest, and we'll see where life takes us.
What would you, when you look back on your career, if you had to write a paragraph, the entire journey, what would you write?
What would I write? I would write that basketball to me was more than just a game. I guess it was all about the lessons, the relationships, the struggles, the failures. It was about putting a team together in such a short amount of time and trying to get this to work with so many different personalities, people from different cultures, and it was a really fun puzzle piece and a learning experience. And in some years, in some days, you can look and say, yeah, we did that pretty well, we got that right. And other ones, you could think, we have a lot of work to do. But that was part of the enjoyment, just working through it and learning. And hopefully that helps me carrying on to the next part.
And were you ever close to thinking about the NBA, getting to a training camp right in the zenith of your career when you're the league MVP?
You know, I don't know how close, and that opportunity never came. Fortunately, we did have some fun things with the National Basketball League here in Australia, where we got to play NBA teams. So we played the Utah Jazz and then the LA Clippers 2 years in a row, which was a lot of fun, a good experience. And, you know, and getting back to family, it was a chance for them to see me play in person as well.